Okay, we're recording. So you're going to answer the question that was posed by one of the viewers. I don't imagine we need to give the name out, but the question was more of a statement slash question in regards to the Old Testament, different gods, or how God was portrayed in that. See if I can find it here. It says Yahweh, I think it's pronounced.
Yeah.
The Old Testament God Yahweh, who Jesus actually made the ransom payment to. This person has good reason to believe that in the Bible itself, Yahweh is the God of this world, in the very same sense that the same is said of Satan. I remember when Satan offered Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, because they were in his hands. There is very strong case for Yahweh. I think that's how you pronounce that name, is Satan and not the Father that Jesus represents and prayed to. Jesus, in fact, refuted Yahweh's teachings many times when he said, "You have heard it said, but I say." This Old Testament God, Yahweh, is not God and certainly is not good. Even Deuteronomy 32:8-9 says that Yahweh inherited Israel from Elyon, the Most High God. Yahweh was a son of El Elyon. I'm not sure how to pronounce these words. Is in a council of 70 gods. So Psalms 82 backs this up. There are deceptions and cover-ups in the book when you really study them closely. So I guess this person is saying Yahweh. Yeah. Okay. I'll let you answer that.
All right. It's a really good question, and I want to answer it respectfully. So I'm going to have to be a little bit academic. There's two parts to the question. The first part has to do with monotheism, and the second part has to do with the nature of the evil one, who has no name, by the way. I mean, people use the word Satan, which means adversary of God, which is a good name for the evil one. But so there's two parts to this question. First of all, in the history of religion, there was a revolution that took place about 4,000 years ago, roughly, and that was the revelation of monotheism, meaning one God. The people of Israel were the only ones who were monotheists, to my knowledge, and I've looked into this stuff. The rest of the world were polytheists. And many of the polytheistic religions didn't have a few gods. They had a multitude of gods. The Greeks were always coming up with new gods. The Hindus were always coming up with new gods, etc., etc. The Jews became devoted to the idea of one God alone. And when Moses asked that God what was his name, the answer was what's called the Tetragrammaton. And it's sometimes pronounced as Yahweh. And the meaning of it is the one who causes. So Jewish people do not use the name Yahweh because it's considered to be so sacred that no human being is really holy enough to use that name. But since it's been understood by scholars ever since, people do use that name for the one who causes, who gave the 10 Commandments to Moses. Jesus was a monotheist. Christians are monotheists. We believe in one God. Muslims are monotheists. And there are three primary monotheistic religions in the world. Judaism, excuse me.
Okay, you're good.
The idea of one God is really important because when people develop two gods, it leads to a diminishing of the one and only God. And let me give you an example, like in Zoroastrianism, which preceded Christianity and Judaism, and was big in what was then Persia, now called Iran. It did have an influence on Judaism and did have an influence on Christianity because it was very ancient and had been a very popular religion in the Middle East. They had two gods, a good God and an evil God. And they were constantly battling back and forth, and they were both equally powerful. Anyhow, moving up to 2,000 years ahead to 2,000 years ago, with the advent of Christianity, Christians were very much monotheists and rejected the idea that there were any other gods. What I'm doing here is trying to give a little history of where this all comes from. Along with Christianity, they developed a religion that was very diverse called Gnosticism. Gnosticism comes from the Greek word gnostic, which means knowledge. The Gnostics believed that the Bible wasn't true, Jesus wasn't what he appeared to be, Christians didn't know what was really going on, they were ignorant, and only the Gnostics had all this esoteric, meaning secret knowledge about gods and Christianity. And one of their theories was there was the good God that the Christians didn't know anything about, and then there was this bad God called Yahweh. And anyways, very, very much from Zoroastrianism influence. They had a lot of ideas, but I think one of the things that was very particular to them, they were very secretive, and the only people that would ever go to heaven are the people that had acquired this advanced level of secret knowledge by being a part of the Gnostic cult, if you will. The early church, particularly in the Council of Nicaea, denounced Gnosticism and wouldn't have anything to do with it. The other thing that the Gnostics did, they had a bunch of books that were ascribed to Jesus's disciples, probably written hundreds of years after Jesus, that give support to the Gnostic religion. This is very, very common and very common today, that people would write books, to support their theories and attribute them to early sources. Anyhow, Gnosticism is making revival today in the New Age movement. It's kind of coming back because people love the idea of having this esoteric knowledge and having the real secret knowledge of what's going on. Like Christians are stupid, they don't know, but we know. We've got the real knowledge. Anyhow, so Gnosticism hasn't disappeared. It's alive and well, and the person who expressed these ideas is expressing Gnostic philosophy, theology. The other part of their question, it seems to me, attributes a godlike status to Satan, which is I just want to condemn that as strongly as I possibly can without being vulgar. The history of Satan is a fallen angel. If you're into multiple gods, I understand why you might want to make that one of your gods, but the world was dominated by sin and death before Jesus. And one of the things that the Jewish tradition tried to do was to find ways to defeat the power of sin and death. Like, for example, with animal sacrifices and all kinds of rituals and festivals, etc. When Jesus came, the whole point of Jesus's suffering, sacrifice, self-sacrifice, death, and resurrection is that he defeated the power of sin and death. Now, where is the power? Here's the question. That the power isn't in Satan. Satan has no power except the power that we give it. I'm going to repeat that because it's really important to get through people's the only power Satan has is the power that we give it. Sin is intentional separation from God. That is a nice, concise, precise theological definition of what sin is. When we intentionally give evil means, look it up in the dictionary, it means to be opposed to God. When we give evil our power, or invite its power into our lives, it's the power of confusion, disinformation, chaos, oppression. That's if you want to call that a power. Evil is a liar, and everything it says is a lie. If you want to call that a power, because lots of our politicians practice that power all the time, and they seem to be quite successful with it. But the main power, to sum the power of evil up, is fear. That's the basis of that power, is fear. And the opposite of fear is faith. Those are the two poles, fear and faith. You get to pick. You can put your faith in a good God who sent his only begotten Son. Whoever believes in him shall not perish but shall have eternal life. You can put your faith in that. You can say, no, I've got different ideas that I want. So if you want to go with a bunch of gods, and you can pursue it. Now, this person used biblical evidence to assert their theory. The Old Testament is full of contradictions, and many scholars have written books about the contradictions. How do you explain the contradictions in the Bible? The Old Testament was written by human beings. Sometimes they were inspired by God, and sometimes they were inspired by their own fears, their own greeds, their own evil inside of them. And when you read the Bible, you'll read, like, God says, don't touch these people, leave them alone. I'm taking care of it. And then a verse later, it's like, oh no, God told us to kill them all, kill their women and children, slaughter all their cattle and burn their villages down. It's like, wait a minute. On the one hand, God says, leave them alone. And then on the other hand, God says, destroy everything about them. I mean, I call that a contradiction. I don't know what you call it. So what we do when we read the Old Testament is we have to put our brain on and not turn it off. And we have to look for the good stuff and understand the bad stuff represents our fears, our desires, our need to conquer, our need to acquire wealth, blah, blah, blah. I need to get new wives, get more cattle, get more land, blah, blah, blah. That's what's going on in the Old Testament. It's the testimony of men who sometimes are very inspired by God, and there's beautiful stuff in the Old Testament, and sometimes they're inspired by their lower instincts, if you will. and they mix it all up, and they sometimes don't seem to know the difference. But the contradictions are just constant. I've read the Old Testament. Matter of fact, I just recently read the Old Testament, and I've studied it. And the Bible is not to be taken literally. It's to be studied. Jesus told me that the Bible is a book of wisdom, and it's full of truths, but you got to use your brain. And part of the basis of our faith in the Judeo-Christian tradition is that God is one. A practicing Jew prays minimally 3 times a day, and hopefully many more times a day, what's called the Shema, which is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one." When I went to seminary, I took a class on the Shema. We talked about the Shema. What does that mean? We talked about that for a semester with a highly educated Jewish rabbi. The basis of our faith is monotheism, one God. If you want to go around inventing other gods, like you want to make Satan a god and put him in a pitched battle with, the true God. If you want to invent a duplicitous God controlled by Satan, by misreading and misusing biblical texts, go for it. But you're making a grave error. And what I'm telling you is what any Christian pastor, any Christian theologian, any Christian seminary professor would tell you. What I'm telling you is this is just real basic Christianity 101. And I'm sorry to be harsh about this, but I do take your comment seriously. And I take where you're going in your search for truth and your search for God. I take it seriously.
Yeah, they definitely pose a good question. You're going to have people that totally disagree with what you just said. I don't, but I just know I can see the comments coming in now. Well, he didn't say this or he didn't say that, so you can't answer the questions completely. I mean, you can give them what you know, but I found that people already have a preconceived idea, and what their mission is to just argue with you about what they believe to be true. So studying law, I've realized one thing: you got to back off from people, let them get out, meet them where they're at. So I have a question for you that's been boggling my mind. If you have time, I don't know.
Yeah.
My video is going to shut down here in pretty soon. But anyways, I was watching a video the other day about possession. Now you say evil has only the power that we give them. I realize that maybe somebody playing a Ouija board or being into witchcraft or something like that opens them up to a demon possession. But what about the little, like there was a story about Anne something. I can't remember her last name now. She was a young girl, 13, Catholic girl, did everything she was supposed to do. Her parents said to her, their knowledge, she didn't dabble in that stuff. So she became possessed, horrifically possessed. Actually, there's a movie based on her, and
Yeah.
she died because of it. So how can an evil spirit that doesn't have any power, only what you give them, possess somebody like that? And why would God allow the possession of that person? I mean, God supposedly stops things like that. Why would he allow that for one, but not others? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Off topic, but
I can't give an intelligent answer to the question, particularly the way you posed it, because you stated, like, her parents said she was a perfectly good girl and there was nothing wrong with her. I don't believe that for a minute. People can appear to be really sweet and nice, but they might have a lot of inner stuff going on. Let me just give an example. I talked to a couple whose 12-year-old son hung himself to death in their home. And they came and talked to me and they said, he was a wonderful kid. He went to church, he never showed any signs of being disturbed or depressed and things like that. And just a loving, wonderful kid. Why did he kill himself? And I'm like, I don't know. But obviously, there was something deeply very wrong and disturbing inside of him that they were unaware of or that he hid really well. I mean, how many kids smoke dope and their parents don't know about it? I mean, like, there's an epidemic of drugs in this country, and it frequently begins with young people. That's the drug people like to go after high school kids and younger. And the kids hide it from their parents, and when the parents find out that the kid OD'd, on heroin, they're like, I didn't know he did that stuff. He was such a perfect child. He was a wonderful kid. He never would have taken dope. Whatever. I mean, that's why I can't, the movie and the book, The Exorcist, demonic possession is extremely rare, according to all the experts that I've read. Mostly what I'm talking about is demonic oppression. And once again, my most authoritative author is Francis MacNutt. His book Healing, I highly recommend. But he says he's looked at thousands of cases all over the world of demonic oppression. He said he's rarely seen possession. It's usually oppression.
All right, that answers that question. That's it, man. I mean, I like the way that you answered the question to the person that posted on YouTube. There's other questions. I mean, I don't know how much time we have here, but some people, so this particular person that you answered the question to, and then other people have said, why is Howard's NDE experience so much different than other people's? And I get that question all the time, constantly. And I just, I don't know how to answer it. If you have any comments or anything, like they say yours is completely different.
I had a very long and extensive experience with Jesus Christ, and it completely changed me as a person. And I do feel like a freak in this world because I love Jesus. And the people that I gravitate towards are necessarily people, not necessarily people that have NDEs, but people that in their own way have come to love Jesus too.
Yeah, I feel like a freak too, so I totally understand that. Even in my own home.
That's why we're a couple of brother freaks. That's why I like you, Cory, and you like me, right?
Yeah, I do like
each other because we've got the love of Jesus in us.
There you go. I got a gentleman that I'm hoping to do an interview with that had a near-death experience about hell, but he also had one with heaven. Hoping to do what do you call it? What we're doing, like an interview video thing. You might have heard of him. I'm trying to find his name here. Somebody recommended him to me, and I was like, I think I remember that guy because I read his story a long time ago about drinking some bad stuff and ended up dying or something and went to hell, etc. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. Damn, I usually have it right in front of me, but anyways, I'm hoping that his experience does seem quite different than yours. So, but at the root of it, if people would just take the time, to anybody who's listening to this video, take the time to listen to each NDE, and they're not that much different, except for Betty E's. I find hers maybe a little too LDS for me, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, not to.
I have the same problem with it.
Yeah, I don't want to discredit the woman. I just feel that she's changed her story a bit over the years. I've watched her from her first episode of Oprah Winfrey till now, and I'm like. Yeah. So if something is true, it can't be changed. If it's changed, it can't be true, in my opinion. So, anyways, I do appreciate these videos. I have been watching your videos the last couple days, really. Each night I'm studying and I put your video on. It does kind of soothe me, just so you know. And you've been saying a lot of stuff, and I'm like, people should just watch what you're saying because your story hasn't changed a lot. I mean, I feel like I'm defending you a lot to people, which I don't mind doing. But at the same time, I think everybody wants to speak to you directly. But I mean, you're one man, right? And I keep telling people you're a human being. People seem to think that you're beyond that for some reason. Not trying to give you this God status either, but they're like, well, Howard should know this and Howard should know this. And I'm just like, he's a human being like you and I, right? So I'm just throwing it out there for the people that are viewing us so that they can maybe think about what they're saying before they say it. But also take the time to dabble into it. So that's why I got this book for anybody who wants to read it. Also, the Crucifixion of the Warrior God, man, that book, those two books, I'm like, I don't know if I can read this. It's going to take me the rest of my life. But you said it's a lot to do with the Old Testament, so I'm kind of eager to read it, right? But anyways, I do appreciate the time, Howard. I'm rambling here because I had 1,000 questions in my mind I wanted to ask you myself, but I try to give these videos to the people that, you don't speak directly to. So I appreciate the time. I don't know when we can meet up again.
Are you outside?
I'm actually in my front porch. It's like a sunroom.
Wow, I'm glad that the weather's warm enough for you to be on your porch.
I actually got a heater on. It's not it's closed in, right? It's insulated,
Yeah,
closed in, and it has windows and stuff, but
yeah.
it's like a sunroom, if you know what that is. I don't know if you guys have
I
that.
yeah, I know what it is.
Okay. I've said that to people before, like, well, what's a sunroom? So, you know,
It's a
but
room that lets the sun in that's enclosed with glass. Hello.
exactly right. But yeah, I like it out here. Actually, it's soothing, but I normally do them on my couch in the living room, but my stepdaughter was sleeping there, so I
Yeah.
couldn't
Do you
disturb her
ever see deer walking through your yard?
all the time. Actually, I could probably see some right now if I look across the road. We have 45 acres of land here, and it's just filled with deer. And one day I came home and there was a black bear running down the field.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Wow.
kind of scared me because I was like, well, my stepdaughters and I go out in the four-wheeler all the time, right? So if something like that decided to have a snack, we'd be it. But for the most part, you scare the bears off. He saw me and took off, right? So I've had bear
Yeah.
training. So I've
Yeah.
with where I
You've had
worked out.
bear training?
Yeah, well, I had to in a job I was dealing with out west in
Yeah.
Fort McMurray. We're way out in the mountains, right? So we're walking all day, and grizzly bears are pretty bad out there. The training was kind of whatever, but you learn how to deal with bears because I came across them a lot, and I mean those things are
Give me a
scary.
tip when I encounter a bear. What do I do? Which will
Don't
never happen, but
don't run, don't startle it. Just start slowly backing up, like putting your hands up like this, and then if it starts coming towards you, you're supposed to get up to a high area and put your hands above your head and kind of like let them know that you're bigger than them. But if you show
oh,
fear, you're dead. You're dead. But
yeah.
I mean, if you come across one and startle it, you're just gonna just start praying to God because you're dead. Yeah. So they're scary, right? So
Yeah.
I've known people that've been attacked and have survived it, and I know other people that didn't survive it. Like I don't know them, but I know stories of them.
Yeah.
They're vicious. Just be careful. I don't know if you guys have bears there or not, but we do.
Not in the part of the Kentucky I live in.
Okay.
There aren't any bears.
I'd like to come down to Kentucky someday. I keep mentioning it to Katie. She's like, well, we could make a trip down someday, blah, 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 blah. The problem with me coming down to the States right now is kind of giving away some of my my past here, a little bit of a criminal past.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
No,
Don't
well,
do
I have a criminal record for drinking and driving. So because of that, I got to get a pardon before I can leave the country,
Oh,
which is fine. I mean, it's been 16, 17 years now. So we're harsh on that in Canada. I don't know how you guys are down in the States, but it's a felony
not
charge.
so harsh.
No, it's a felony charge here, and blah blah blah. You have to do time in jail. Embarrassing.
Wow.
But my life has changed. I'm actually studying criminology right now and policing, and hopefully I can pass that. Which reminds me, pray for me
Yeah.
on these courses, man, because they're difficult, and I hope that I do well. And I'm trying to take that experience
will.
that I had. I
will.
hope so. I'm trying to take that experience I had and pass it on to somebody else because I see so many young people out there making those dumb mistakes that I made.
That's exactly what I think I'm doing.
Yeah, well, you've helped
Taking the
me a lot.
experience I've had and trying to pass it on.
You've helped me a lot. When I speak to you, I feel a sense that I'm speaking not directly to Jesus, but my message is going to Jesus, maybe a little more through you than just my actual prayers. I'd like to speak to him directly, but there's the conundrum that I have. He never answers me back. It's like, come on, man, like let's talk.
Yes, he does. He answers you in several ways. One is here real quickly. He answers you through the creation. You got questions about God, and you go out and see something, and all of a sudden, it makes sense.
Yeah, I
right?
get that.
He answers you through reason, like through your mind. You figure out the answer with the reason that God gave you, that he didn't give animals. Okay. My dogs don't figure out anything. I train them and they're good dogs, but it's all through discipline. It's all through training and love. God answers you through the biblical texts. I mean, there's such wonderful revelations in the text where, revelation literally means that the curtain is opened up. Something's revealed to you. What was hidden is made known. And you get that in the Bible. And one of the ways that I get a lot of answers from God is through good Christian people. I got a wonderful pastor right now, and he's saying things that are blowing me away.
I get that, but I mean, my problem is, and I believe a lot of other people's problem is, I only have 5 minutes here, so I can just say this quick. When I started talking to you, if I would have just been emailing you and talking to you personally, and you not responding to me in any way, shape, or form, where would that relationship have gone? How would I have got to know you? How would I believe you? How would I follow you. So a lot of people have that with Jesus. It's like, I'm praying to you, I'm talking to you, like opening your mind to reality and, the creation Bible verses and stuff you just mentioned. That holds people back because they don't seem to be getting answers, right? Myself, I get some, but at other times I'm like, how am I supposed to love you with all my heart, mind, and soul?
Let me, a topic that I've raised many times with you is that's why I think finding a good church where you can meet some people that you can relate to. Not everybody in church is a saint. There's all kinds of people in church, but if you find a good church where you can find people you can relate to, and hopefully a good pastor, you can find those people that we all support and help each other on our journey.
Yeah, maybe I should look into church a little more. There's been some type of draw. Go to church, man. Go to church. I'm like, I don't want to go to church. I find it so boring. However, I went to church most of my childhood, right? Like several times a week, several times a day. In some cases, I even went to a Catholic school where you had to dress a certain way, you had to pray so much, you had to blah, blah, blah. So I think maybe I got a little bit turned off because of that.
It sounds like you got a lot turned off.
Yeah, maybe I should be a little more open-minded. I do agree with you there, by the way, when you push the church issue. I have to agree with you. So maybe I'll surprise you. Who knows? But I do appreciate the time, man. I know you're a busy guy, so it's very helpful that you're willing to respond to questions and answers from people or even comments, and it helps me a lot too. So everybody's winning, I think. So maybe we'll do it again sometime. I'm not sure when just yet, but I'm hoping to get a viewer because some people want to talk to you directly. I don't know if you're into that or not, but
oh yeah, sure.
All right. Well, hopefully you said you had something to deal with. Hopefully that goes well with you. And I'll talk to you when we get a chance to talk again.
All right. God bless you.
All right. Thanks, Howard. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.